Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
IVM Likes is an IVM production, and if you enjoy our show, do check out the On Course podcast. If you're a student planning to study abroad and wondering how to go about it, hosts Akhil and Alisha have all the answers for you. From financing your education to decoding that application process, they cover it all on the On Course podcast. Check it out. If you're a listener of IVM Likes and a socks fan, which I'm sure is a Venn diagram that's totally possible, I have great news for you. You check out the Moja Club. They make amazing funky socks that you can buy on their website. Or even better, just get a subscription. Sign up for 6 months or a year and you'll get a pair delivered to your house every month. They'll even throw in a free pair at the end of the month. And if you go to their website, themojaclub.in right now, you get a whole 33% off by just applying the code IVM Likes. It's IVM Likes with no spaces. 33% off. Did you hear that? Themojaclub.in. Welcome to another episode of IVM Likes. I'm Sharanya and today I'm in the studio with producer Josh.
Hey.
And producer Abbas.
Hello.
Hi guys. So today we're having a really intense discussion. We're going to do a round of recommendations. As always, we've got a TV show and a book and a movie. And then we're getting in Miss Designer Alika to have an intense conversation about differentiating the art and the artist. And where should we draw the line?
That's right.
It might go on forever, guys. There may be no end in sight for this discussion, honestly. Let's see how it goes. Alright, let's start our recommendations with Josh.
The book. Okay, so my the book I'm going to recommend today is actually a very old book. It came out in the 60s called What is History?
Okay.
It's not a big book. It's a very small book. I can't remember the number of pages.
Considering it came out in the 60s, the book is history now.
Yeah, that's true.
It is kind of, but what's interesting about it is the book is written by this guy E.H. Carr, and he's discussing about how to view history. Like, there are a lot of views about like history is based on facts, and he basically debunks all those ideas, like those facts, like how historians interpret the facts. And he gives one example I remember he gives of a historian who had released like 3 different historical narratives through his career, but this is like early 30s. And depending on what the political situation was in his country, like because he was sort of a conservative person, but then his views changed as, the sort of political climate of Europe went sort of very haywire with the First World War, Second World War. So each history book that he came out with, like the first one was it's sort of looking at history through the point of view of like this very conservative, I can't even remember what particular history book he had written about, but it just sort of espoused those conservative values. But as soon as those kind of broke down with the advent of like fascism and all these things, his next narrative was sort of in that very broken spirit, so that was affecting the way he was writing history. So what's interesting about this, as much as it is about history, I think there's a lot in there for just artists and creation in general, because his whole thing was like how process is a big part of writing history books. Like it's not like you amass the facts and then you put it all together into a narrative. It's like in the act of like writing the narrative, then you start getting more narrative,
Right.
So it's also this thing about process versus prepared, and subjectivity versus objectivity, free will, determinism. All these things are covered in just this one What is History book, which is quite a tiny book, I would say. And also this idea of like how history is not a science, because for the long, and this is, I mean, in context, this is in the 60s, so everyone kind of knows it's not a science, but he puts it very clearly how it is not.
I think it applies a lot now as well.
Yeah.
Now that we look back at what we learned in school and what kind of biased history textbooks we have and where it comes from, technically what you know of history could be anything.
Yeah.
Because you heard it from a different source and a different perspective.
Yeah.
And you never know.
Yeah, and it's that whole idea of like history is written by the winners kind of thing.
That's true.
And also, like one interesting thing I think was, I think Romila Thapar, who it was in 2002 she had come out with like a ancient India textbook for 6th standard.
Right.
And in it there was mention of like how Hindus used to eat beef, all these things, and the BJP had sort of laid into her because of mentioning these things.
Of course.
So it's so as much as that book doesn't mention these things, but it has these kind of
Basically trying to rewrite history from the perspective of now.
Yeah.
From what your opinion is of it is now. That's crazy.
Exactly. So there is a phrase which is exactly that.
Yeah.
He says, looking at the
Yeah.
past through the lens of the present. Kind of.
Yeah.
That whole idea. So he explores that very idea in the book.
So it is pretty difficult to say that what we know of history now
Mm-hmm.
is in fact valid or accurate at all.
Yeah, so that's the one question I have. Like, considering the book was written in the 60s, according to you, it still stands, like it's as relevant today as it must have been.
It's very valid, I think, for anybody who is just and how to look at history,
Right,
how to
right.
view history and how to view historians. Like, we're going to have a discussion about art, separating art from
Yeah.
Right.
artists. His whole thing is you cannot read a history book without knowing who the historian
I was
is.
just going to say
Okay.
that because right now my knowledge of history sometimes just comes from Wikipedia,
Right.
and that's literally anybody
Anybody
editing
can
it.
edit it, yeah.
So I mean, putting historians through a lens of are they being biased or unbiased, or where
Right.
they come from, where they are. And we're not doing that with Wikipedia editors at all.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
really
kind
messed up.
of scary now.
So I would definitely I would say anybody like you don't have to be into history to read this book. You won't be reading history books after you
Yeah.
read this book, but it's just a good examination or reflection of how to view history, because
Yeah.
I think everybody is a product of their own experience in history. So it's a good on a micro level as well as a macro. So
That's lovely.
Nice.
I would say
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I want my parents to just look into the history of a WhatsApp forward. I'm like, just see if it's true first. Just
Oh,
Google
yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And they won't even do that. They'll just take it at face value
Yeah.
all the time. Like, I read it online. What does online mean?
Yeah.
Fake
that's-
news and all
Fake
that.
news. I was just going to say that.
So that is my recommendation.
What is the book
history? What is history by E.H. Carr?
Awesome.
Car
Alright.
as in CARR.
Yes.
Alright, Abbas.
Yeah, so I'll be recommending a film today. It's a documentary. It's from 2013. It's called Finding Vivian Maier. What this film basically is it's made by this very young director called John Maloof. It's his first film, and John Maloof, somewhere in the 2010s, he was working on a project which led him to an auction of ancient, not really ancient, but old stuff.
Antiques.
Antiques, yeah, that's the word I was looking
An
for.
auction of old stuff.
So what John Maloof did was, for a very nominal price, he got this trunk back home with him in the hope that he would find something interesting in there. What he found inside were a bunch of photographs, all right? And he developed these photographs, and he found these were impeccable, very well shot, extremely unique photographs. But he didn't know who clicked them, okay? So the film is basically his search for the person who clicked these photographs.
Not the person in the photo.
Not the person in the photo,
Okay.
the person who's clicked it, because these were photographs clicked in the early 1900s with
Okay.
the very first generation of cameras.
Right.
But they were beautiful photographs. There were photographs of children, of houses, of streets. Like, it's almost like a historical window to that time. So he finds little bits and pieces of bills and laundry bills
nice.
and addresses, and he searches them, and he finds they were all clicked by this woman called Vivian Maier. He sets out to search people who knew Vivian Maier, and he finds out she was a nanny. She worked as a nanny for children. And considering the quality of photographs, he thinks that this should be displayed in art galleries. She should get her due as a great artist. Why is that not happening? And through the interviews, and I'm not going to spoil what her life was, but he comes to know she was an extremely introverted person. The only thing every person who talks about her can, the one thing that unites all of them is that they all say she always used to carry a camera with her. So there are some little very early films, videos, 16, 17 second videos, pictures that he finds. Vivian Maier also traveled a lot. So she came to India. So there are pictures of her on the ship in other countries. And the larger point that the film is trying to make is that in a time where we can click pictures at the touch of a button, where pictures have almost become irrelevant. We can click pictures of anything. There are apps which make photographs disappear in 24 hours. How much you should value pictures where people actually put in so much effort to take those pictures. Like, this is a woman who had a bulky camera with her everywhere. And there are small instances, like she's taken some very candid photos. Like there is a picture of a black man on a New York street telling her to piss off, right? So he's tried to imagine what it must have been like for a woman to go around.
Stand up and take that photo
Exactly.
also. Yeah.
And actually capture that moment where she's actually being told to mind her own business, right? So there are lots of those kind of snippets throughout the film. There is also a sense that she was actually going through a bit of a mental illness issue. She was a bit of a hoarder. So through interviews, through him finding out who she is, where she is, we form a picture of this woman. But so yeah, it works on two levels. If the movie was just an hour of slideshows of those pictures, it'll still be a beautiful movie because those pictures are so well taken.
Wow.
But then we also get this other side of a person who we never knew who would have been a great artist. So it just makes you think about the Picassos and the Michelangelos got their name, but there must have been so many other artists who just never got their due.
Yeah.
So it's a very good movie. John Maloof has shot it very candidly. There are times where he's just talking to the camera. You can kind of get a sense it's his first film. He's very enthusiastic about it. So, and in the end, he actually started a Kickstarter campaign to get Vivian Maier the due that she deserves. And now many of her photographs have actually been auctioned and they've gone for really big prices.
That's
and
awesome.
Those photos hang in some New York museums. And so it's a very comprehensively made film. Very good movie. Please check it out. It's called Finding Vivian Maier.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, a similar thing happened to me. I
What?
once, no, it did not. I once went to the Welfare of Stray Dogs has like one of those garage sales.
Right.
And there's like just piles of clothes and broken crockery
Right.
and books. And under a whole pile of paintings, I found really beautiful photos just laid out of Luke Kenny.
Oh,
In many, many poses.
Josh can't believe that. Like, there are beautiful pictures
I
of
was
Luke
like,
Kenny.
beautiful photos of Luke Kenny.
It's just him. They're like a series of photos with the same red background and him posing in many different ways. It's
Tell me
actually
you
good.
bought it.
Of course, I have it at home.
Oh.
Dude, this sounds very...
We should get him in on Made in India and then just spread those photos in front of him. Like,
What were you thinking?
yeah.
You remember Luke's After Hours on Channel
Of
V?
course.
It sounds like something that he would have posed for. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Or maybe his early modeling days.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah.
All right,
Kenny.
cool. Nice recommendations, guys. All right, my turn. So, as usual, I'm going to recommend a TV show.
Yes.
So, the show I want to recommend today is called The Leftovers. It's an HBO show that ended 2 weeks ago.
Right.
The season finale was 2 weeks ago, which is rare in any case
Yeah.
to find a season finale of a show in 3 seasons.
3 seasons?
Just 3
What?
seasons, guys.
Did they even start?
I know. So the show is basically, it has a very simple plot. Suddenly one day 2% of the world's population disappears without explanation. There's no alien attack. There's nothing. There's nothing to explain. There's no supernatural, phenomena. There's nothing. No scientific research can prove where these people went. Like people are just walking down the street. Suddenly they turn around and the kids have disappeared or
Yeah.
their husbands have disappeared. But the show is not even trying to find the answer to this. They're not
Right.
trying to seek why this happened. This is the story of the people who were left over, right? 2% is a small number. I mean, of the
Right.
world's population. But how it affects an individual, that's what the show is trying to examine. So people react to it differently. Like some people lose their whole family. They're the only person left. Some people lose one person. Some people lose nobody. Because there's literally no logic to it.
Right.
But now that suddenly this has happened to you, this has happened in the world, there is no explanation for it. What does your life mean? What does your existence mean? If everything is random and out of your control,
Right.
what does anything mean?
Full existential crisis.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fully existential show. Like it was one of those curl up and just think about your life and what is the point and is there a point in getting up after this end of the show? You know?
Right.
I'm only living for this show now, you know? But anyway, so people react to it differently. Like some
Right.
people really seek complete normalcy. They just want to, pretend it never happened. Let's go back to life regularly. Some people, really well-adjusted people, like, people who you think are sane, therapists, like, they just join cults and smoke cigarettes all day because what is the point? Don't waste your breath.
Yeah.
Or never forget. They are of the never forget because nothing you do is of any meaning. So you should never forget those. Whereas some people are like, let's just stop thinking about the people who left us.
Right.
So the show is centered around this one family with Justin Theroux as the lead and a great cast.
Yeah.
Carrie Coon, Amy Brenneman, Liv Tyler. Really great cast. And it follows the family to see how they deal with basically just, despair and madness
Right.
and grief.
Wow.
I know it sounds like a really exciting show.
optimistic.
But it actually is an optimistic show, I feel.
Okay.
I think it's a little optimistic because it's still the people who continue to live, no matter how they feel, they still continue to live and they need to find purpose again and find reason to live. And I think that's really, it is kind of optimistic in a very far-fetched kind of way. But it is a show about grief.
It's kind of one of those situations like it can only go up from here. Like it's almost like they've hit rock
and
bottom.
nothing is explained, right? You cannot find explanation. So when a logical person cannot find any reason to a big thing that happened in their life, like they lost their parents or their families, and so nothing makes sense.
And it's completely out of your control.
It's out of your control. So what is it that you're working towards in life? Like, let's work hard and let's save money for what?
Yeah, what
You
if-
never know. There's no purpose to anything you're doing.
Right.
Everything is just random and meaningless. And that's a really difficult thing to live with as a human being because there's nothing to... What do you do?
This
It
show has
questions everything
really
you know.
had a very deep impact
It
on
has.
you.
It made me question everything I know. Like, because when I started watching the first season, so it is, the thing with the show is that it's only 3 seasons.
Right.
Season 1 and 2 had 10 episodes and
Right.
season 3 had 8 episodes. It's not the most well-known show. A lot of the critics who wrote the reviews for the finales wrote that most people who watched it were television critics and
Right.
film critics.
Right.
The thing with the show is that it's a little difficult to get into because this is a slow show in the beginning. It's literally just dealing with madness. Like one guy who believes that all the dogs that are left over are those departed people.
Oh,
There's a priest
right.
who believes
Yeah.
that, but because people start saying maybe it's a rapture, a priest who campaigns to prove that the people who were departed were awful people. Like they were cheaters or they were thieves.
But he's still around.
Which is what he's trying to prove, is that it's not that the good people left. That the people who left were sinners. That's why they were gone.
Yeah.
And imagine if your wife was taken and you are dealing with grief and then the priest is campaigning to say that your wife is an
Yeah.
awful person.
Like just
right.
add to the grief
Yeah,
already
so
departed.
it's a mess, and it's a really messy situation. It starts off like what I think is really brave of this show is that it sets 3 seasons in 3 different spaces. Like the
Okay.
first season is in New York, second season is in this town called Jarden,
Okay.
third season is in Australia.
Okay.
And it follows the same family across it,
Right.
and it is so beautiful. Great cast, great writing. So when I was reading a lot of the reviews for the show, there's one, I think Vox wrote a review called The Leftovers is one of the best TV shows ever made.
Right.
And one of the comments on it, which I'm going to read out because it's so perfectly describes the show. He says, the Leftovers is that insane person at the party that talks crazy but makes complete sense, and you almost want to walk away, but they keep saying super far out stuff, and you feel like maybe if you just had one more drink and you sat a little longer, you'll understand them. That's exactly how the show is. It is super crazy. But if you have the patience and if you're a patient person, and if you give shows space like I do, I usually give shows 1 season
Yeah.
to like get their things in order. If you watch 1 season, you'll definitely watch the 2nd season and the 3rd season, and you'll have a great
Yeah.
time. It is, of course, made by the guy
I have
who
seen
made...
for Lost,
who made
Damon
Lost.
Lindelof, yes.
So the
Who-
pressure of the season finale, honestly, I cannot tell you because
Because he
was-
screwed up Prometheus.
Exactly.
He screwed up Prometheus big time.
That's another argument. I love everything that Damon
but
Lindelof has written.
honestly, Leftover season finale is very good.
Okay.
It gives you exactly what you need,
Right.
which is just enough hope for the world, but also just like, what is the point of getting up? What is the point of getting out of bed? But it's a really good show. I really, really loved it. It's one of the shows that I feel personally attached to. But I won't recommend to everybody because it is a
Right.
show that's difficult to get into,
I know,
and some
yeah.
people really dislike the show because like, what is happening? I don't get it. But if you want to try it out, it's all the whole season is on
Hotstar.
Hotstar.
Oh,
Yeah, it's called The Leftovers, guys.
check it out.
And it doesn't end. Can you imagine starting something knowing it doesn't end in like 28 episodes? It's beautiful. All right, that's my recommendation, guys. So Josh recommended a book,
What is History by E.H. Carr.
and Abbas recommended a movie called,
Finding Vivian Maier.
and I'm recommending the TV show called The Leftovers. In our next segment, after this break, we're going to talk about art versus the artist, and Alika's going to join us for this discussion. So let's get to it.
That was Tantrik Steve from Hansraj College, Delhi, performing at IIT Bombay's Mood Indigo. Just like them, there's a lot of new talent and art coming out of colleges all across India, but unfortunately, most of this goes completely unnoticed or ignored. To fix this, we started ATKT.in. Hi, I'm Ankur. I'm a musician and a rapper, and I found that one of the best things about being an artist myself is finding new talent. Through ATKT.in, Tanya, my colleague who's a dancer, and our whole team really is putting all of our efforts into discovering and promoting all the coolest talent that's coming out of colleges all across India. And this goes up on our website, our social media, TV, radio, and now, of course, this podcast with IVM. Make sure you go to our website, support the talent with your likes, your shares, your comments. All of that really matters. Go ahead, check it out. atkt.in.
Welcome back after the break, and now, hi, we have Alika in the studio, guys.
Hello.
We have one
Hi.
more person for this conversation that we're about to
Intense.
have. We don't know if it's going to be intense. Maybe it's going to be
chill.
very lighthearted, guys.
Yes.
It's going to be a floofy interview.
Certainly.
So, in light of what's happened this week with Bill Cosby's trial, where there was a mistrial, and even though they presented no defense his side, and there were so many victims who came forward, we're talking about, should there be a hard rule of not endorsing the art that these artists make, the artists that are convicted of crimes or have allegations against them of some really serious stuff. I mean, these are a lot of victims in Cosby's case. We're talking about Woody Allen with his sexual abuse allegations.
Yeah.
Roman Polanski, who actually has a conviction and continues to be a free man. Mel Gibson, we've got so many, and close to home we've got so many. Salman Khan,
Salman, classic.
you know,
Classic.
Neeraj, something who made Queen,
The guy who made Sairat also.
the guy who made Saira.
Yeah.
Basically, artists are pretty people most of the time.
Yeah.
But do you guys have personal rules of, I will not watch this, I will not watch Woody Allen movies anymore, or just personal hard and fast rules about, I can't endorse this artist for what they've done? And is there a separation of art versus artist in your mind, Josh?
It's a tough one, man. I consider my opinion on this very soft because I haven't seen any Woody Allen films in a long time. But I don't think, I'm still a big fan of Annie Hall. I thought Vicky Cristina was good, you know. Same thing with Salman Khan. I thought I still watch and enjoy Salman Khan movies. And it's interesting because I know that I've seen posts by a lot of criminal lawyers who say these things get determined by the courts, you know. So it's like you leave it up to the courts. But in the case of Polanski's, he's absconding, you know. So
Yeah.
the courts have convicted him.
Or Salman Khan's just lying?
But that's the thing. For Salman Khan lying, it's almost like splitting hairs because
Fair.
that thing I think that's gone to it's gone to the High Court, gone to the Supreme Court. It's gone through all levels of the courts and all. Woody Allen, it's hard because I remember reading the testimony of that daughter. I can't remember her name. The one.
Dylan Farrow?
Dylan Farrow. So her testimony, and it's so. It's upsetting to read that,
really
you know.
upsetting.
And then at the same time to see that he's still making movies and still making movies with really big name actors, you know. So those seeing all these sort of big name stars working with him, it's almost like an endorsement.
Yeah.
It is fine to watch these
Yeah.
films, or
Yeah.
it has not affected him in any way, and you can consume his art. It's fine.
Just a quick facts check on that. Roman Polanski, who was convicted in 1977 and was since absconding, he made so many movies after that. In 2002, he made The Pianist, which won him an Oscar for Best Director. Woody Allen continued to make so many movies. He's got the best stars in his movies. They all clearly, it is an endorsement when a star decides to work in a movie of Woody Allen movie or a Mel Gibson movie. I think that should be considered an endorsement, right? Would you say that they should not be under, they should not have any obligation to choose what they should do or not?
The actors?
The actors.
Well, it depends on how famous they are. Can they afford to turn down
Kate
roles?
Winslet can afford to turn down a movie.
So the
Kristen
ones who
Stewart
can, the ones who can afford to turn down roles and pick and choose what they want. I mean, then you get the feeling that okay, they are fine with this. They are fine with this sort of whatever he's done.
Yeah.
They don't have issues with him as a person because they're going to be in contact with him as a person, not just as a director or an artist.
Correct. So technically, when they agree to act in his movies, whether
Correct.
Woody Allen or Polanski, they are technically endorsing his crime or his alleged crime
Yeah.
at this point.
But they are
Does that upset you? I'm saying, as a Kate Winslet fan or as a whoever Owen Wilson fan, do you get why would he do this?
The approach I have to this, when you said that if an actor chooses to do a Roman Polanski film, they're endorsing the crime, I don't completely agree with that. On the other hand, let's take two examples. Let's take Woody Allen and Bill Cosby, right? I wasn't a huge fan of Bill Cosby, but I used to watch his stand-up.
Yeah.
I've seen the show, I've seen the stand-up before the whole thing blew up. Since the whole thing has come into spotlight, I have stopped watching Bill Cosby's stand-up, but I still watch Woody Allen films.
Yeah.
Now this is a very personal thing. Maybe I'll sound a little obscure or insane when I say this, but in case of Bill Cosby, he's right there in front of you. He's on stage. He's very directly voicing his opinion in his jokes.
Right.
Whereas Woody Allen has written a script, he's written a story, he's written something that comes from him, but a lot of other people have contributed.
I completely agree. I understand what
Exactly.
you're saying. Because he's not himself on stage doing this. It's not
Exactly.
like if he was in a play. I think that would be like you'd associate crime when you see it with a
Right.
person versus he was behind the scene
Exactly.
writing something.
So when Scarlett Johansson does Vicky Cristina Barcelona, in my head, I don't directly associate that with Woody Allen. I'm like, maybe she liked the script so much that she couldn't say no.
But that's fine because he used to act in his films, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
But
which he
now,
no longer does. I
yeah,
guess.
so that could be just like just an outcome of the case that he doesn't want to show his face in his films. Does he still like have cameo appearances?
He was in the Rome movie that he made with Penelope Cruz, Once Upon a Time in Rome or something.
Yeah.
It was called. He was still in that movie. So he's still.
I get what you're saying with seeing them is that they're part of a bigger crew. They've done
Yeah,
work,
yeah.
which is the same thing I feel with Salman Khan. Now I haven't watched a Salman Khan movie in ages.
Right.
Like I think since Dabangg I haven't watched a
Right.
movie. And I don't really feel like I miss anything. But I can't put this rule on other people. I can't be like, how can you watch this movie? Because I know that a big crew has worked on this movie. I can't say that my boycotting Salman Khan movies, one, of course, is going to make no difference.
Right.
Except to my own guilt and my own ethical viewpoint. But I do understand that I don't really blame an Anushka Sharma for being in the movie or
Right.
for Sonam Kapoor to act with him. I really don't think of it that way. And I think that the reason must be because I think of a movie as a big crew.
Right.
As lots of people have contributed. It's not like he makes the most money out of it. He probably does. But you know what I mean? Like, I think the association of a star versus somebody who works as a director or writer
Right.
is a little different. I think that makes a difference. Alika, what are your rules about this?
So my rules I'm sure a lot of people's rules are a little bit flexible because, I mean, how much art can you not consume by choosing to boycott
Of course.
anybody?
I mean,
yeah.
if you look at just misogyny, there's just so many people.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to stop consuming anything.
Yeah, I mean, like, Walt Disney was anti-Semitic. Man, I still watch Disney movies. They're really great.
Yeah. I
So-
get that.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a limit that you have to decide. That what is that point where you will just refuse to cross?
Yeah. Do you have a hard
Yeah.
rule like that with anybody?
Oh, God. If anybody's done, like, freaking pedophilia or some sort of rape thing, then...
Yeah. My misogyny, rape is like my big thing. I'm still somewhat okay with drunken driving. I'm somehow okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Listen,
it's okay.
Paris Hilton will give a pass.
I'm pretty sure like 99% of actors in at least Hollywood have done drunken driving at
I
some
get
point.
that. I also
So-
like it's very interesting to me when people have defenses for artists they really like and then they do something awful.
Yeah.
It's a depressing thing because your idols will always fail you.
Yes.
Michael Jackson.
Oh, man.
I mean, nobody's going to be like, I'm not going to listen to Michael Jackson music anymore. I mean, people still felt really sad at his death, and you can't give up. You can't ignore who he was and what his crimes were, or if they were, whatever it is.
Right.
But are you still allowed to feel, like, you know, when people
So
were writing
the-
obituaries, it was always we can feel sad that he died because
Right.
his music gave us
Right.
happiness,
Right.
but you cannot ignore that he also did these things. There was also the charges that, were there.
Yeah.
You can't ignore
So
it.
that's a question that I want to ask to all of you. You admire some artist a lot, and then they get embroiled into some sort of controversy, which is really questions his or her character.
Yeah.
Does that make you look at the work they've already done in a different light?
Sometimes.
Yeah, it does.
Strangely enough, no. I don't
It
know.
doesn't?
I don't know why. I mean, right now I'm trying to think of somebody recent. The only one I can think of who's done this mildly is Johnny Depp with Amber Heard.
Yeah.
But it's not colored the previous like Pirates of the Caribbean movies or
for
Finding
me, it
Neverland.
colors everything. Everything I
Okay.
know about this person, it colors all their work.
So your personal nostalgia when you watch that
It
thing
is ruined
again,
a
it
little
is
bit.
ruined.
Definitely.
Okay.
A little bit. Like, it's not, I might still watch it and still enjoy it, but it's there in the back of my mind that this person has really, honestly though, do you think that sometimes we expect these artists or whoever we like a lot to be perfect human beings? Maybe that's the thing.
Yes, you do. Because there are a lot of things in there because it's also, you want them to be the person they portray on screen.
Right.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
And whenever someone creates something, you admire them. So once you admire someone, you want everything about them to be of
perfect.
that quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
like see the ideal when you see them
Yeah,
on the
I
screen.
mean, not to mean that we should give them a pass, and because they're just
No.
humans. That's,
Yeah.
that's not what I mean.
No.
So I was listening to the podcast you recommended yesterday, Abbas, where it's called Unraveling Cosby,
Unraveling
which
Cosby.
talks about his trial. So in a couple of episodes early on, a lot of the people who are talking about like his neighbors or people who knew him as a young person talk about how, Woody Allen and Roman Polanski can get by with the allegation and with the conviction because they are white males, versus Bill Cosby because the allegation itself is enough to like ruin his career.
Yeah.
Which I find, I mean, of course, I have no sympathy in this situation because, yeah, the allegations should ruin his career. But do you think that that is the case? Because I think it is true to a far extent that,
Yeah.
if you are a privileged person, you will get by doing these guys. It's okay.
There is some kind of double standard.
I mean, to be,
think, yeah.
like, if you were equating that in India, it would be one of the Khans, which is our white privilege.
Yeah, but
Really? Would
The
that
Khans
be
can get by doing a lot of stuff, I feel. Like,
But how does that compare to the white-black situation in America?
I don't know. I'm thinking Vivek Oberoi, Salman Khan in my head. It's like, it's not like he committed a crime.
Oh, you're talking about the
what's his name?
status.
Vivek Oberoi, for
Who was
example.
the guy who,
But now look at him,
with
he
the
got
maid,
no
man?
work. Shiny Ahuja.
that fellow.
Shiny Ahuja got by.
Right, you're talking purely in terms of status. That
Yeah.
the Khans have such a big
Yeah, that
hold
they
on
can
the
get
industry.
away with doing things even with like bad press.
Yeah,
They'll get away
yeah,
with
yeah,
it with
yeah,
real
yeah.
crimes, whereas the other people most likely will not. It's like an allegation has ruined Vivek Oberoi's career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But just going back to the situation, the Bill Cosby situation, the reason why it's a little more quote unquote complicated is also because Cosby was known as someone who has done a lot for the African American community
Correct.
in pop culture.
Yeah.
He opened up the door to a lot of black actors and actresses through his show and other things. And if I don't know how many of you have seen the Dave
I
Chappelle
was
special.
just going to say that. Yeah, because he talks about how Bill Cosby has done so
Exactly.
much for the community.
Yeah, so then now you're talking about an entire community being let down, but at the same time, a lot of people from that community got a chance they probably wouldn't have if Cosby hadn't broken through. So it's again one of those situations.
But then you're balancing
Exactly.
this community who did well because of him versus the 20 women he abused.
Exactly.
Drugged and,
Yeah, which is a very unfortunate
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
But personally, I think it can't be an excuse to let someone go just because they did some good deeds for someone, because that in itself is kind of you're being racist in a way when you're letting someone go because of their good deeds versus someone. It's a little bit of messed up
So
situation.
you're saying you can't separate the art with the artist. Like the artist can't stand as a human being, and the art has to stand separately.
I think if they've done time, I'm still sometimes okay. Like Sanjay Dutt. Whatever, I mean, the crime, there was conviction for many years. Of course, he continued to make money
Right.
while the case was going on.
Huh.
But he went to jail. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, he got lenient. I get it. I understand that this is the judicial
Yes,
system,
yes.
unfortunately. But he did time. you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So you like the fact that there is some appearance of a justice system.
I do like an appearance of having paid for your crime a little
Yeah.
bit at least. Like instead of just having
Right.
completely ignored it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
gone by your life completely okay and continue to make millions of like dollars
Yes,
and rupees
yes.
and
That's fair actually,
That's-
because at least then, others who look up to them will feel that, you can't actually just get away with this just because of your star power.
yeah. I mean,
You do have to, it does have consequences. Now, whether those consequences because you have that much star power are very minimal.
yeah.
But for the lay person, at least the fact that they have had to face something, it's probably a deterrent of some sort. Kind of, maybe.
And in that podcast itself, I guess you're
Yeah.
referring to the fact where one guy says that the fact that Cosby's career is over is punishment enough.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with. I mean,
God,
no,
of course not.
you have to have a judicial, the law has,
I felt bad, so that's punishment enough. That's
yeah,
not how it
that's
works,
just not, that's like the whole Tarun Tejpal thing that I am so
yeah.
hurt with what I feel that I'm
Yeah.
going to
Tarun
retire.
Tejpal, man.
Bringing it closer to India,
Yeah.
look at the TVF controversy.
Yeah.
Right? So now that he's supposedly stepped off,
Resigned,
as
yeah,
you
yeah.
think he will, either, I mean, I highly doubt he's going to get hired for some time by anybody. But also, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference to his life. He still is
Yeah,
the
that's
owner of the
true.
company, right?
Yeah,
He still
yeah,
owns
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm sure the money still keeps rolling. There's no consequence. There's a phase that I've stepped down and I feel really hurt by the things I've done. I've stepped down. Makes no difference. You are
Yeah.
not paying in any way for your crime or for your alleged crime. So, I mean...
Yeah, in case of TVF, it's just, I mean, they're just waiting for the next thing to
Yeah.
happen, and then it'll be gone. So, yeah, I mean, it's important that in such cases we don't forget that.
I think that's another thing is the media cycle of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like you forget and then you move on. If you don't see enough outrage all the time.
I mean, in Cosby's case, I remember after the women came out, he was still touring,
Yeah.
and there was a group of women who would stand up mid-show and start chanting, "We believe the women." So, I mean, that's as direct an attack as you can, do for someone in
And that case took so long to even come to,
Exactly.
like, I remember, like, the allegations were ages and ages old,
Yeah,
and then Hannibal
yeah,
Buress
yeah.
kind of bought it back
Yeah.
in one of his sets, and then that controversy started
Yeah.
again. And I think the New York Times did a article where they had all of the women on their cover. Every
Right.
woman that was that was a victim.
yeah.
That was a lot of women.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think
yeah.
people took to looking at their faces to be like, okay, this is a crime. Before that, they were just like, it's Cosby.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
he
so it's-
changed our lives as a sitcom dad. It's like, okay.
Yeah, so it's essential you don't make people, that people don't forget what happened. Like, the debate should go on about it.
Yeah, I remember my roommate, she had studied neuroscience for her postgrad or undergrad, I can't even remember. But there's this thing in neuroscience called cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
So that is basically like if, say you like an artist and someone tells you something bad about
Yeah.
that artist. I think for your brain to resolve that issue, there's just like, it takes,
Yeah.
like there's a time period before you can actually believe that fact.
Right,
you
yeah.
know,
Right.
even though it is a fact
Yeah.
about this person.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of that happening with,
Sure.
I feel.
But would you be like, I think I have my hard and soft beliefs on these depending on the person. But I really have no problem with, at this point, after having thought about it a lot, of people saying, I'm going to continue to watch Woody Allen movies, or I'm going to continue to watch whatever I want. I think it's okay. I think it's your choice to make. Because everybody who makes art or
Sure.
is most likely flawed in some way. You just don't know it.
Yeah, the best you can do is tell them your point of view and why you think you wouldn't choose to watch or see or listen to that person's art.
I definitely think people should be aware about it. Like, they
Yeah.
shouldn't just be indifferent, like, okay, the judiciary will determine if this person will do that.
Yeah.
Because, like, they should at least have an opinion about it, I think. If they're just kind of sitting back and saying, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I just
Sometimes
wanna-"
their opinion is that I don't care, I just like these movies.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is a complete, like, choosing to be unaware of the situation because if I know the facts, it's going to ruin my movie watching experience.
Yeah. I would say I would not advocate, like, just ignoring what the
Yeah.
artist is. Like, you would still have to know that.
That is true. They are inherently tied to what they're doing because they sell because of their name sometimes, most of the time.
Yeah.
Especially with, like, big artists like Woody Allen.
Yeah.
And like recently, like, I'm a big Paul Verhoeven fan, and he recently released a film called Elle. And I just read an article in the New Humanist where this woman just does a full takedown of that film. She's like, it's full of misogyny,
Yeah.
this, that. And I'm like a Verhoeven hardcore fan.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't even want to watch this film now.
Yeah, I recently, I like Fred Armisen a lot as a
Right.
comedian, and then I recently found out that he was married to Elizabeth Moss, who said that it was the worst time of life because he has sex addiction and is a complete misogynist. And he was on Mark Maron's podcast where he admits it. He talks about how he's not good with it. He marries somebody and then he loses interest and he's awful to them. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, you're a funny guy at SNL. Just let me enjoy SNL. Like, I love all of Fred Armisen's work, and now it's ruined forever.
Yeah. Sometimes maybe you
Now
don't.
that filter is gone.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's also like I want to go watch movies without this filter of like, and it's very difficult. So many movies, especially Bollywood movies, to go without a filter of this is misogynistic in its base is very difficult.
Yeah.
Makes it difficult to enjoy stuff.
In Bollywood, you're just waiting an entire industry to change. That's probably not going to happen in a lifetime. Like,
Yeah, being woke is really no fun.
yeah. So yeah, that's,
But it's important,
difficult.
people.
It is important,
woke.
yes. But I totally get if you want to put that at the back of your head once or twice.
Sometimes you just want to enjoy this. I just want to enjoy a Bollywood movie. Maybe I want to go watch Sultan, guys. I've never watched it. Is it
You
any
mean
good? I don't know.
Tube-Light? Josh is definitely watching Tube-Light, right?
Of course. Of course I'm watching Tube Light. I can't wait for it. Him putting his hands out and every ground shaking and all that. It's very exciting.
All right,
Let's
guys.
just hope there aren't any people on
Yeah.
the ground.
All right, very interesting discussion.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think if you have any opinion on this, because there's got to be a ton of opinion. Very different, varied opinion.
Yeah, don't look at our history of what we have done. Don't stop listening to IVM Likes, guys. We're all purists.
All right, Josh, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks.
Do you have anything to plug, Josh? Come on.
Oh shit, I forgot. So I've recently come out with a track, and now the video, the sort of mock video is coming out. So please look out for it. It's a cover of, it's a rework of a song from a Malayalam film called Enne Thalendamawa. So please check it out.
Where does one find it?
Check out the song. It's at www.soundcloud.com/TigerBabu.
Nice. Tiger Babu. Got
Right,
it.
yes.
Abbas.
The only show I can plug right now is I'm doing a spot at the Beer Cafe at Kamala Mills on the 29th of June. So
In
come
Bombay?
In Bombay, yes. It's going to be me, Vaibhav Sethia, and a bunch of other comics. So come
Awesome.
check it out.
Alika, do you have anything to plug?
No, just go follow my Twitter. You'll find anything interesting there at Cape Fox Alex.
Very nice.
Want to spell that? Cause
Yeah, you should spell that.
CAPEFOXALIX.
Very nice. I'm Sharanya. I want to plug this podcast. I'm on this podcast every week, guys. Please come and listen to me. All right. Bye, guys. Excuse me, भैया. Excuse me.
बोलिए मैडम.
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वैक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, थिंग्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर जकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है. आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम. आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप. सब आपकी उंगलियों पे.